topic for today's video is the best apps for vintage stuff. Because personally, I thrive on marketplaces in general. I don't know if you've heard about human design, but my best environment is markets. I seem to thrive in anything that is where things are exchanging information, products are exchanged. So I'm fully embracing that. And today I want to tell you which platforms I love to scour on. Personally, I mean, I live on Vinted. I feel like Vinted is such a great source of inspiration also for the wardrobe, because it doesn't follow a trend, and sometimes you find vintage pieces that are absolutely timeless, but they look so good, are in such good condition, and you would have never thought about them if you went just shopping on any high street or like a mall. So the same applies to home decor, and yes, I mean, sometimes I go on flea markets, but I think the flea markets I like as a social thing to do with my girlfriends. I think it's fun, cool to to discover different objects. When you're together with your girlfriend, you know the other person as well, and you propose things that they maybe wouldn't necessarily buy on their own. But yeah, I think here in Europe, every country has developed a unique platform or a unique way of trading things. So I want to go through apps from different countries. Let's start with the Austrian one, because that's the one that's closest to my heart. It's called Willhaben, so it's just German for want to have. The last thing I bought on Willhaben was a corduroy baseball cap. I wanted a corduroy baseball cap, and I looked on Vinted if I could find one, and it was not that easy. And also they were quite, I don't know, the pricing didn't really make sense to me. Yeah, then I just had one look on Willhaben and I found the perfect one, and I shipped it to my sister, and this is how I got it. I guess I'd have a look on the Austrian one if I can't find it anywhere else, just like check. Also, my kettle with a whistle I bought on Willhaben, because this is where you find more like German quality items. I think I find them more so on Willhaben. I don't find them on the French secondhand marketplace so much. I guess for different kinds of items, I go to different kinds of marketplaces because it's cultural at the end of the day. Staying in the German kind of area is eBay, but it's the German eBay, so it's called eBay Kleinanzeigen, like mini advertisements. And eBay Kleinanzeigen, it's really, really good. I go on eBay Kleinanzeigen if I'm looking for a good rug or quality German items, also because they ship more often than they do on the French secondhand website. I feel like the French, they don't like shipping. They're just like, okay, like pick it up. But then it's like, well, I mean, you live in the south of France, so it's not that easy. What else did I buy on eBay Kleinanzeigen? Good question, let me have a look. Also, they rebranded, it's not eBay anymore, it's just called Kleinanzeigen. But for example, when I bought my wall mask that I bought in Sweden, and obviously that was a very Austrian German thing that they produced a lot in those countries, so there are a lot more around. Also, what I bought on Willhaben, my friend, she has a whole collection of porcelain plates. It was the Augarten porcelain, so she had the whole collection, and she had them in a specific design. And so for her birthday, I wanted to kind of find something to add to her collection. And I bought these like mini candle holders, like candle holders that you put on the table. And I did find them because they're very specific to Austria. I wouldn't find them anywhere else really. And the candles were so tiny. The diameter of the candles for the candle holders were so tiny. Like, it took me ages to find the right size candles. So yeah, also the first time that I bought them, I bought the wrong design. So I kept the ones with the wrong design, and then I had to buy again candle holders with the right design. So let's move over to France. In France, there is the biggest one, which is, you know, kind of like the French eBay version. It's called Leboncoin. And I use Leboncoin as a resort for everything. And it can be household items. I mean, I use it for buying and selling. Sometimes if I just want to get rid of something quickly, you just put it as a gift, like without any price. And usually it gets picked up pretty quickly. I never use Facebook Marketplace. I think this works better in the US than in Europe, because I guess we have more of these dedicated platforms and not necessarily Facebook Marketplace. I have bookmarked a lot of stuff on Leboncoin, and the coolest thing about it is that they have a feature. So for example, the other day I was at a flea market and there was like a guy that sold really high-end design items, and one of them was candle holders, and they looked so cool. And I took a picture of it, and while I was there, because he announced like a crazy price, so to verify, also to check, can I find them online? So the cool feature on Leboncoin is that you can upload an image of what you're looking for, and it will give you similar results. And especially if you're looking for design items, it will recognize them and it will give you all the sellers that have that item. Or also for lamps, I think it's quite useful if you're looking for a certain style of lamp, or at least that I have. I'm using that a lot for lamps. What do I use Leboncoin for? I bought my armchair. I bought that one on Leboncoin, which I'm really happy about. She also wanted to sell me the sofa at the same time, but it was really good quality. So if I had had the space, I would have bought them both, because yeah, they were a really good deal. I've bought random stuff for my office, like a mini trash can for my office. Oh yeah, I've bought all of these IKEA just white shelves. I bought those off of Leboncoin. Still, what I haven't found on Leboncoin or anywhere else is the butter dish of my dreams. I haven't found it yet. I keep looking for it, so it seems to not have made its way into my life yet. So I'm still waiting for my butter dish to show up in my life. Another French, more curated platform is a platform called Selency. It's way more on point when it comes to design items. Also visually, I think the images are less messy. They cut out the background, so it's all a bit more neat and more palatable in terms of presentation. Things are a bit more pricey, but you will find really good design items. It's really well curated. They do treat it more like, even though it's a vintage or secondhand design platform, they do treat it as kind of a web shop, even though it's a secondhand marketplace. But they have made these categories and they curate, the best sellers, kind of exceptional pieces. So the categories are really good, the search function, and it's better than the one on Leboncoin. I think on Leboncoin you really have to have time, you have to like scour through things or really look for a specific item. And I think on Selency, I guess you find more easily what you're looking for, and it's just more design oriented. Like lately, I've been thinking about getting some sort of, I don't know, I feel like I have a bunch of empty walls. I didn't really want to put anything on it, but there is empty space where I'm like, this could be so much more cozy. And also sometimes it's echoey. And so next to my bed, I thought it could be really nice to have some sort of tapestry, like a textile tapestry, because I want something contemporary. I don't want these kind of old school, historic looking ones. I'm looking for something a bit more modern or something a bit like cheeky and maybe even like abstract. I don't necessarily want like people or animals on this tapestry next to my bed. I think in Feng Shui that's just not a good idea. Now I'm excited because now we get to a more Scandinavian kind of platform, and I've been a bit obsessed with it. It's called Auctionet, and they uniquely have Scandinavian design items, and it's a bidding platform. So it's very old school, kind of eBay, and I find it so fascinating because sometimes you see a really cool piece and you're like, what? Like, it's only 30 euros or something, or somebody put a bid that is really, really low. And I find it fascinating to observe then the bidding, and especially in the last kind of like 10 minutes, and to see what price does it ultimately sell for. I don't know yet how to approach that. There is also items that you can buy directly from the seller. It's cool if you're in Europe because, you know, there are some transport costs involved if it's like from Sweden or Scandinavia, but it's doable, like it's affordable. And you can even go so far and buy boats or luxury watches. They have a bunch of things as categories. Auctionet does it all. You can even buy designer fashion. So they also have a category for vintage fashion. I always find it inspiring to go on these vintage designer clothes marketplaces because you just find really, really unique pieces that make you stand out. You just need to know your color palette and your size and maybe have a good tailor and you're good to go. I don't know, my obsession is just lamps. Been looking at a lot of lamps, table lamps, floor lamps, ceiling lamps. That's kind of my current goal, to find a cool ceiling light for my kitchen, for example. That's kind of important to me right now. I don't even know how I found out about this app, but I downloaded it and I'm pretty obsessed with it. So I was also looking at clocks for a mantle, and they have some nice ones also, art deco, retro, 50s kind of looking ones that are affordable. At the end of the day, I feel like the prices that these items go for are pretty okay. There is also some newer design ones, and I think if you fix yourself a budget and like a certain like price that you're like willing to pay to get that item, I think it's a good way of getting something unique, something with a good quality, something high-end for a really okay price. And the selection is top-notch. I think the curation and the selection of Auctionet is really, really, really good. Another thing that I found while I was in Sweden, because why not? I mean, while I was in Sweden and I did my day trip to Stockholm, and I was scouring through these antique design stores, I was then also curious to see what kind of platforms do they use. And the one that I found is Tradera. And Tradera is a bit of a hybrid. You can buy a bit of everything there, also clothes. Tradera is very similar to eBay or Leboncoin. They have all sorts of categories for pre-owned items, and it's Sweden's most popular platform for selling and buying. What's interesting about it is that they do focus on the aspect of sustainability, which is kind of cool to kind of keep it circular and also incentivize people to choose to buy vintage over going to the mall. While Auctionet is more for design, antiques, collectibles, Tradera is kind of like eBay. They have all sorts of categories. The images are spontaneous, improvised, you know. And on Tradera, you can pretty much choose any kind of category. Like they have keychains, like that's a category. They even sell vintage airplane tickets. That's a bit niche, but that's a category. So yeah, since it's a bit like Leboncoin, I guess if I would look for Swedish or Scandinavian brands specifically, or even, I don't know, textiles or that kind of stuff that they were known for, I would probably go on Tradera for that. So the same reason why I would go to a German or Austrian site, because culturally, like, things were made there. A larger quantity of certain brands was made there, so I would apply the same logic to the Scandinavian platforms. So when it comes to lighting, or Joseph Frank, for example, that's very specific to Sweden, textiles or furniture, then I would go to Tradera and look for if they have items on the marketplace. My friend from Austria is here at the moment. She's in Paris and she's half Swedish, and she's staying at this lady's house. It's a family friend of hers. It's a Swedish lady in her 60s, and we were at her place, and it was so cute because her place was so cozy and it was the perfect mixture between French and Swedish, and I was so captivated by how it all came together. You know, she collected and like bought things throughout her life. And then we were also talking about Svensk 10, and I mean, the minute I mentioned Svensk 10, like her eyes lit up, and I was like, there is nothing that is not beautiful that comes out of like Svensk 10. I think what Swedish platforms are also really good at is Christmas decoration. I think they, especially in the dark months, they know how to make it cozy, and they really celebrate those traditions. Maybe this is what I'm going to do for this upcoming Christmas season, because I've kind of said to myself that I really wanted to decorate my apartment and celebrate and really make the most of the Christmas period to, you know, go inwards, host people, have people over, light lots of candles, and just really make my apartment feel cozy and have it in a state that I love to come home to. So that was my roundup of, in my opinion, the most important European marketplace platforms and apps. So if you're based in Europe, I highly recommend to use those apps. And yeah, happy scouring, happy sourcing, and happy purchasing. Bye!